am Joe, the psychologist, and this is my brother Rick. Welcome to the tour of Italian horror cinema here on Horror Italiano. And I am so ready for this movie. But before we start talking about it, Rick, what's going on, my brother? You ready for this one?
What up, my beer brother? All I gotta say for that is we all cheer for big bottles of beer. Salute, my brother. Let's go.
Salute. In this episode, we are going to be discussing the 1982 movie Tenebrae. It is written and directed by Dario Argento, starring Anthony Franciosa as Peter Neal, John Saxon as Bulmer, Daria Nicolodi as Anne, and Giuliano Gemma as Captain Germani. An American novelist visiting Rome to promote his latest book is stalked and harassed by an obsessed fan who is committing a string of murders that appear to be tributes to his work. All right, so as I said, we are discussing Tenebrae. Off the bat, if they're using the title of the book and you're seeing the actual book, the murders somehow are going to be tied to this book. There's a reason that the murders are happening, and it's going to be because of this book. First question I'm going to ask you on this one. What do you think was the killer's motives? And when you found out the killer's motives, so go ahead, tell me about that. See if you figured that all out.
Well, first of all, let's peel the curtain back a little bit, because this movie definitely has a lot of metafiction. There's definitely a lot of inspiration behind this movie, because this goes back to an incident that happened to Dario Argento himself. I believe it was like 1980. He was getting a lot of threatening phone calls, a lot of people coming down on him for his overly aggressive violence against women and making the males always the heroes. At that time, he started getting these calls and it became very threatening. And he said to himself, how about take this and make it into a script about a celebrity stalker? So that's what he took, and he put that emphasis into the script for this film, Tenebrae. Before we start, you always tell me, I'm asking you, Tenebrae, what's it mean? What's it translate to?
Darkness.
I love the intro to this movie too, with the guy reading the book and he's got the passage. Dario Argento did that as well with Inferno, how he laid out the whole beginning there. So
you did notice that while the guy's reading the book, it was in Italian, and then when you got the close-up, it was in English?
Yeah, well, the Italian version is Argento's voice work. I don't think I saw that one. I think it was all American, this particular one. But I didn't notice exactly what you're pointing out.
Yeah, when it was far away, it was all in Italian. And when you got the close-up, it was all in English. So, I saw the second time, I'm like, that's Italian. How'd you go? So yeah, at least they translated it for us.
Yeah, the killer's motive was to emulate Peter's work. Cristiano Berti was an obsessed fan with a fractured mental state to begin with, bro. And this murder spree that he started just spiraled out of control to the point where he was discovered by the guy that he was actually, writing to. Which I love the fact that the detective in this movie had that one line, pointing out he is a detective. He's a fan of mystery crime thrillers and those kind of books. Agatha Christie, for example, he pointed out, I believe. But he said he could never figure out who the killer was, which was very interesting because the writer figured out who was behind this almost like instantly, just by giving it a little bit of thought. He had insider information because he was face to face with the guy.
Yeah.
When it came down to the motives, again, this is such a story that everyone can relate to. Maybe not on a personal level, but maybe you read about it or you've seen it or you heard stories about it. You're obsessed fans. No matter what fandom you're a part of, these fans are everywhere, bro. They are literally everywhere. So to see it brought to film here and the way they did it, of course, it's the Dario Argento style, black gloves and all. And of course, those were Dario's hands. I mean, I'm like a broken record bringing that up in every Argento film. And it's a Giallo film, bro. So yeah, man, the motives was quite simple, but it was effective. Simple, but effective, brother. How about you?
Obviously, because Rick's already mentioned it, Cristiano is shown to be the killer. It was the conversation he was having with him. And, he brought up being a Catholic and the religious part to him. I was really worried. I'm fully aware when I thought this for it. I went about like 10 minutes in my head, please don't do this. Please don't do this. And then I'm like, this fucking movie came out in 1982. So if they did do it, it would have been one of the first ones. So I had to give it a pass if it was going to be this, which was that the murders were all going to be directly out of the book. So we've seen that a lot of times, actually, I feel. So, but then I said, well, shit, what if he actually was one of the first ones to do where the serial killer was copying the murders in the book? But it didn't turn out to be that. It's just, he basically was punishing people that he thought were sinners. So Cristiano was very religious. So this one, for him, he thought that Peter was trying to say that, and I was trying to remember the word that he used, but basically these people needed to be punished. And he had said to him, well, I never...
perversions or something.
Something like that. Yeah, it was. And he was like, I never said that. So once he said that line, and that's kind of the whole thing. It was a conversation that was had that let me know. So what the fan took from it is that people who are sinners need to be punished. So that was his motivation. This movie had a lot of great twists, to be honest with you. Even with the reveal of the killer, I still had somebody else different in mind, even with that tidbit, because, Dario was throwing all this shit in your face. Red herrings left and right, I guess, is, you want to say. And I thought it was just great. It was brilliant the way that it was done.
Yeah, the biggest connection between the killings and the book was the fact that the victims, they're all women, and the murder weapon was the razor that was used to kill said women. The biggest difference between the killer killing the women inspired by the book was there was no connection to these women. It's just somebody pointing out women that he felt, like you mentioned, were sinners. For example, the lesbian couple, So yeah, that's where the connection stopped. And you're right, they didn't go the full, let's emulate the book. They didn't do that at all, which I respect that.
The clues were served to us on a silver platter for this one.
All in your face, all in your face.
Yeah, it was a silver platter. So I sat here and I'm like, I'm still not sure about this because I still had somebody else. It was way too convenient. It was like, I'm looking at the runtime and going, there's just something not right. But, obviously, it sounds like you got the same as I had done, which, that Cristiano was him, but Dario pretty much spoon-fed us for this one. I mean, don't you agree?
I agree. And the way it was revealed, like I mentioned, he just started thinking back to that interview he had where the guy mentioned that one word. I believe, I'm paraphrasing, but perversions is a long line.
It's one.
And then when he read one of the notes that had the same exact almost verbiage in there, not verbatim, but pretty much the same kind of dialect and dialogue, essentially, that's when Peter was like, I know who this motherfucker is. And he went to that motherfucker's house, son.
I know.
He went to his house.
Obviously, there is a whole other twist in here. And then you get the surprise of the second one, which I'm gonna let you go first, but I'm gonna say the surprise of the second one, who was my suspect the whole time.
Okay.
I thought it was Peter the whole time.
Really? Nice.
I thought that Peter, instead of doing this in the United States, where he is more famous, where the police, FBI, you have all these methods that can probably catch him easier, taking the opportunity to go to another country to promote his book and then do these killings only to elevate his book. I was trying to think, again, this would have been the first if this would have been what the plot had been, but I was trying to think, who's done this? Who's done that? The writer is actually going around killing to help promote his book. Before I keep going, because like I said, I have so much to say on this part. Yeah. Did you yourself see the second twist coming?
I did not see it coming, and it's interesting that you guessed Peter, because no signs at all pointed at Peter because he wasn't the killer to begin with. He always had that in him. We'll get into that later because of his past, obviously. So he took advantage to get revenge, right? which was even better, bro.
Better.
So when he goes to his house with Gianni, right? He goes to his house with this poor young guy, right? This young punk. They see Cristiano get fucking massacred, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Did they just switch the killer on us? So all these clues that they led up to doesn't mean shit anymore. Now it's a whole new ball game now, bro. We're in a different inning right now. What's going on? I've never experienced that. Peter never, ever went through my mind. I'll be completely honest. And I'm normally pretty decent at these guessing games when it comes to Giallos and who's the killer, but not at all, man. I love how it was done, man, because I was like, wow, they switched the killer mid-movie. When they switched it up, not when it was revealed who it was, the second killer, but when you found out, wait a minute, there's someone else at play now. Now the whole game switched. It ain't no. Remember, he stopped getting letters and everything. That should have told you. That told you everything right there. So go ahead, my brother. Let me know.
So, like I said, for me, all along I had Peter. I had Peter clocked from the beginning. The problem is he had alibis for the first one. When they started laying out Cristiano, I'm like, well, it's throwing off my fucking theory right now.
Before you go on, you know who I did have in mind? It was the two detectives, right? It was not the male cop, his partner, the female cop. I don't know their names. I thought it was her, to be quite honest with you. And even up to towards the end, I was like, oh, I was right. Then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, I'm fucking wrong.
Yeah, no, she got the axe on that one also. So I'm like, all right, we have got to figure out how he had help for this. And that's when I thought of Anne. And then you had the scene with him and Anne finally kissing, saying we're going to forget about this in the morning, which would be something that two people who kill would tell each other. We're not going to talk about this in the morning. We're going to forget about this. So I had then gone, Anne has been helping him. But then, like I said, Cristiano was being introduced. And
Dario
it threw my all off.
Let's
Daria,
our girl.
All along was trying to figure out how the movie was now going to give you all the connection as to how Peter and Anne had actually been working on this together. And then it didn't turn out to be that way, actually. Peter took advantage of exacting his revenge on his wife and agent, John Saxon.
Great John Saxon.
Dude, as soon as when I saw him, I'm like, I know Ricky's happy. I mean, come on, you know, it's John Saxon.
It also feels good to see like one of these Italian films with an actor
and their real voice.
We grew up watching, like for example, like an American actor. You know what I mean? Like, and they didn't have to redub him, bro. Some of the dubbing in this film was horrendous. I know it's by design. The detective for one, and the first victim, the kleptomaniac who got busted shoplifting. Oh my God! Sorry.
I was happy because we've talked about this before. This would have been the third movie where we had an American actor, and that was actually John Saxon's voice.
Oh yeah, of course.
It wasn't dubbed. Thankfully, because I was like, oh no, please. We've literally been griping about this, that this is going to be the second American actor to show up in a movie that they dub him, and no, you got to hear him. Then you were getting this little vignette of something in the past that you knew was tied into, and it's that Peter basically got embarrassed when he was much younger.
Yeah, he was a
teenager, and he ended up killing the girl who embarrassed him, who tended to look like the other victims through the movie. If you notice that also, they all kind of look the same. So I dug it. I sat watching this movie last night, and it's gonna sound weird for me to say it, with a smile on my face, even though it's an older movie, to still go. Because when they showed Cristiano, I'm like, well, there goes Peter. I guess I'm wrong. And then it shows that Peter, I was wrong, by the way, but right, because he took advantage of a situation, and we got a second story within this movie.
And like the brilliant thing about that, it just didn't come out of nowhere. Like, what? I love that you mentioned the flashbacks with the woman with the red shoes who humiliated Peter as a teenager. He got his revenge on her, killing her later, stealing her red shoes, mind you, which those red shoes came into play later on in the present, which you mentioned there is a correlation there. And I'm wondering, what the fuck is all this? And not even that, but the pills, the water dripping sounds, a lot of random stuff. And I'm thinking, this is a Dario Argento movie. He puts a lot of the stuff in there. It's always for a reason, by design. I didn't quite get the pill part and the water droppings. When I say water droppings, think of it like a running water from a faucet, or dripping water from a leaky faucet, for example. But interesting enough, that was a transgender actor to begin with, the girl with the red shoes, and having a transgender actor back in the early 80s, that was impressive. And that's the second time Argento has used a transgender actor, because he used one as well in Deep Red. The main focus I'm trying to get at is they were giving us these clues into Peter's past to set the second twist, the third act. They set it up brilliantly by these vignettes. At the time, they didn't make sense, but when everything clicked at the end, you're like, oh, masterclass in storytelling.
And if we would have seen that done now, we would have said, oh, they just threw this in there because they knew the other storyline. But the other storyline was working also. You know what I mean? So it was literally like, for the people who had Peter on the radar, who then go, so it wasn't Peter, but it turned out Peter, the first person he killed, was Cristiano, and then clobbers his own self, which, by the way, bravo that you can hit your head hard enough.
That was crazy.
To fucking, like, he hit himself hard. He had a hole. I mean,
bro, we should have figured it out when the detective caught the injury, and he was like, oh, what happened to you? He's like, it's nothing. Nothing, bro. You got this big ass bandage on the back of your fucking head.
How about, I do one slight little nitpick, and I think we brought it up, and I was trying to remember which episode we had done. Why don't they go to the fucking cops? Like, they literally even told them, what's her name? Anne said, you guys, her and the assistant, for Peter and the assistant, to go to the cops to report this, and neither of them wanted to. Now, obviously, Peter didn't want to.
Peter did it because
right.
Peter wanted to.
But the other one had nothing to do with this. No. He was a witness.
Gianni?
Gianni, yeah. He didn't want to go, and I'm like, what is wrong with the Italians not wanting to go to the police? Like, are the cops not somebody you want to go? It seems like they want to solve the shit, but instead, no, let me go solve this myself, which, poor Gianni, he goes to try to solve it. And, Peter's now got to clean up his whole entire fucking mess. Yeah. So, yeah, no,
Which I liked. I liked that Gianni saw some guy just get an axe to the fucking face, and he was not okay with it. It traumatized him, which is very realistic. He couldn't stop thinking about it. He's like, I gotta go back. I gotta find out. There's something I'm missing. And then when he figured out, oh, wait a minute, he confessed to being the killer.
And then got hit in the head, so that means somebody else.
And I knew it was someone he recognized, because when he was getting yoked out from the back seat, he looked, and they made it apparent that he was looking back to give us, the audience, the realization that, okay, he knows who the killer is. Yeah.
All right, man. So let's wrap this one up. I'm going to go ahead for right now, but I'm going to put it in stone. I'm going to say for right now, one of my favorite movies from him.
I don't know if you caught this, but one of the characters had this big box of fucking cigarettes, but they pulled out a cig. It was the biggest box of cigarettes I've ever seen in my life, bro. Man, what kind of fucking cigarettes are they smoking? The random bum who attacked the girl walking home. Like, what? All right, what is going on here? And of course, that dog was a fucking menace, bro. That dog chased that dog had a vendetta against poor Maria. That's her name, Maria, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I got something to say about that, so I'm gonna wait for you. I have a lot to say about that one.
All right, well, I'll leave that to you. But of course, if you recognize the music here, it was done by Goblin. But it was 3 of the 4 guys, and they did not mention Goblin by name in the credits, because the one that did not contribute was the one that he had a fallout, and he's the one that owned the rights to the name, was the drummer. So the 3 original guys, it's Goblin. This music, you could tell, I loved it. Oh man, and they use a lot of not a lot, but there's a few scenes that use a lot of the same unused tracks that Dawn of the Dead used back in '78. which was very, very cool listening to that style of library music in a film from the 1981. The crane shot right outside Tilda and Marion's house or apartment, whatever that was. That crane shot when Tilda was out the window, then that music, groovy ass fucking soundscape, and it kept circling all around the apartment, and it ran right into the inside. That double homicide scene was fucking awesome, by the way. And this movie, I will say it right now, it had some of the most beautiful fucking women I've seen in films, bro. Holy shit, these women were and they don't seem to wear bras. The one scene where they're in that weird cafe area with the girl, I don't know what kind of relationship they got, but the Marion picks up some random guy playing a fucking old ass guitar.
They're lesbian, and every once in a while she needs to get something on the
I
side.
was confused because I thought they were hookers or something, because she just picked up some random guy.
She just.
I'm like, what's going on here?
No, it's basically it's the agreement they had.
It's an open relationship. I'm assuming.
Open relationship, yeah.
All right. And I loved every second of it, because just the way Dario framed the shots. And there's one scene when they're in that apartment, and you see this shelf with a bunch of old Budweiser cans. Like, Budweiser, ooh, Bud sucks. I can't stand Budweiser. So when I saw that, I started laughing my ass off. I'm gonna lie, I love that. After, obviously, Deep Red, but then after Inferno, so I think Argento wanted to get back. Well, he did Suspiria and Inferno. I don't know if Inferno was after before this, but I know he did Suspiria. He wanted to get back to a more grounded Giallo film, not supernatural is what I'm trying to say. And this was the perfect film to jump into that for. So, go ahead, man. What you got?
I freaking love this movie. The music. I knew you were gonna. I'm like, I'm not gonna even do any notes on music. Rick's got this, because when it was playing, and it's weird to bob your head like when you're watching a horror movie, like, she gonna die.
Groovy, right?
You're like bobbing your head. You're like, oh, stabbed her. You're like, you're and it's.
You had the headphones on, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. It's a weird feeling, because you're like, because the music, you know, well, and
I tend to pay more attention to if you're watching it on your phone. It's not.
And instead of doing, I would say, I'm gonna put both of them on. Like. Oh yeah. I don't want to hear it. Well, I know, because I have somebody else next to me, so in case they ask a question in the middle of the night, I said, fuck it. I did hear, hey, and I'm like, nope, just ignore it.
You mentioned you guessed Peter to begin. Now, once that went out the window, was he still your prime guy, or you just
no, he was still in there.
So you got it.
He said, okay, they're gonna split up, and Jenny's like, I'm gonna go in the front. All right, I'm gonna get the back. And then when he showed up, he's still in the same spot. Oh, I got knocked out. Because I'm still sitting there going, there's just something was just not right.
You're the psychologist, but think about it. He got knocked out, but he saw Cristiano get an axe to the fucking grill piece.
Right.
When did he have time to knock out my man Peter, bro?
That's what I'm saying. So Peter did it to him. He ran back really quick. He knew that Gianni was going to sit there.
Oh my God, you're right. He actually killed the guy himself. You're right. He found time to run back. I didn't even think about that. You're fucking right, dude.
Yeah. He literally axed him and then ran back, found a rock to hit himself, and then placed right here.
Oh, you know what I thought? When he smashed the window, my dumb ass was like, maybe a piece of glass jumped, sharded him in the back of the head, and that's what caused the actual wounds. He said, fuck, let me use this to my advantage.
No, it was to freak him out.
You're right, you're right.
And he needed an alibi. So, the dog. All I'm going to say is this. Season 4, it'll all be revealed. But I will tell you this much. The reason I am terrified of dogs is because of Doberman pinchers. And what the fuck happened in this movie? Yeah, that's real. Yeah, so I'm terrified of big dogs. And literally I had an incident and it involved Doberman pinchers.
Can't fuck with the big dog.
Traumatized watching this fucking movie because I did not see this coming.
Bro, that dog was relentless, bro.
They do that. And so I'm going to save it for my episode.
All right, we'll save it.
So we'll just tune in for that one.
We'll table that for right now.
We're going to table that one.
Before we wrap up, I will say, because the dog chased her into the killer's house, right? But then once you figured out, oh shit, I'm in the killer's house. I gotta get the fuck out. But wait a minute, if I get out, the fucking dog is outside. So that was such a great dilemma, bro.
Nothing. And then when she's trying to get away, she's throwing Like, I'm sorry. So to say that this is my favorite Italian horror movie, no. I am not going to say this is my favorite Italian horror movie, because when we started the series, I already had some on here that we talked about. However, for first watches, this is my first watch of the horror Italiano movies that we've done, is all I've got to say right now. So our next episode, Blood and Black Lace, is our penultimate episode. I just found a fucking movie that I absolutely fell in love with. And supporting this, you're going to find yours.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.